Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Meet the Experts. I'm Dori Sukup, founder of Inspiration Management, and I am so excited to be with you today because we are going to explore a very important subject. As you see, we are here in our studio in Daytona Beach, and this is a brand new show that we are launching called Meet the Experts. As a business owner, you are often faced with many different challenges that you need help with. And whether you are starting a brand new business or whether you have an existing medical spa, there is a time where you need to refresh your menu or launch a whole brand new menu. And when it comes to creating a menu, equipment and the choices that you make regarding equipment is very important, and it could be a major investment for you and your business. That is why I invited my friend and an entrepreneur and business owner just like you, Austin Podowski. He is the founder of Synergy MedSales. They're located in Texas, but they service people all over the United States and Canada. So I wanted to bring you the best person to help me explore this topic and help you make the right choices in order to create a great menu for your business. So I am so excited that you're with me today, Austin, and we're going to be discussing secrets to selecting the right medical spa equipment for your target market and your budget. I'm so happy that you're with me today, Austin. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Dory. Your studio is beautiful. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to get in there personally, but doing the remote cast for now will have to suffice. It's always good to see your smiling
Oh,
face.
thank
How's the
you.
team at Inspiration?
Oh, we are rocking and rolling. Let me tell you, having this brand new studio going on, we have my producer, my camera guys, my editors, they're all here helping us make this show a great success for all of us and our audience. That's really why we're doing this, because I wanted to make a positive impact to the community and truly help people set up properly or continue growing properly. But before we dive into our conversation, why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about you, Austin, and how you got into the industry?
Absolutely love to. So again, thanks for having me. I'm Austin Podowski, CEO and founder of Synergy MedSales. I embarked on my journey in aesthetics just about 10 years ago. I was previously a film major in school and involved in the arts, and I'd always relied on my kind of sales ability to pay bills, through college. So I've sold literally everything on the phone, from pest control to timeshares. And when I had just wrapped a production of an independent film, I needed some cash in the bank. So I went out on Craigslist, which was the relevant kind of online interviewing job post search at the time, and took an interview for a latex and nitrile disposable glove company. I was hired on as a sales representative, promoted director of sales, and was able to increase their revenue by 3x in about 6 months. One of the partners of that company had started a liposuction rental business and had hired me over to manage the sales for him. He and I started that business, just the two of us. My first year of business, we did about $323,000 in revenue, and in year 3, when I left, we were at 10 million and about 25 employees. And so when I left at that time, I had enjoyed the space of aesthetics, the excitement of the technology, how it's ever changing, working with the top plastic derms and med spas in the space. But I was looking to get back to the arts. But in this community, we are close knit, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing because I became a resource. And I realized that maybe that was the next chapter for me, was branding myself as a resource and building my own company. And so that's when we founded and launched Synergy MedSales, and really got going in international sectors with consumable supply chain, and pivoted then into domestic sales here to retail customers, B2B customers in plastics, derms, and med spas. And the industry has grown beautifully since. I mean, we're very fortunate to have an industry like aesthetics, which is a subsector of healthcare, that is, I don't want to say recession proof, but really has done a good job of weathering the storm. So it was the crisis in '08 to the most recent pandemic. I mean, all of my clients are literally surging right now and doing more business than they've ever done, even amidst maybe a 2-month shutdown. And so it's really interesting when I hear analysts talk about V's and W's and curves in the shift in the marketplace since COVID. And in our business even, I think we're going to have the best year we've ever had. So I'm just very enthusiastic about the space of aesthetics. I love that the space is full of innovators, it's full of entrepreneurs, Dory, like yourself, like myself, like our clients, that just keep pushing. And obviously these services are becoming household names, they're becoming household needs. The more Zoom interfacing you're doing, etc., the more you want to kind of beautify your look and elevate your outward appeal to whatever your audience is. So I'm super excited about aesthetics. It has been a wild ride over the past 10 years, and I'm looking to many more years of success in the space and helping grow and share my success, with your clients and mine alike.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, that's what I love about working with people like yourself. As a matter of fact, let's tell people a little bit how we met. So years ago, everybody was going to in-person conferences, right? So Austin and his team and myself and my team would often see each other at different conferences that we would go, where I'm speaking and they were featuring all their equipment. And we have been referring people back and forth to each other, because what he does is so important to us to have as a resource. Because whenever we start working with someone, one thing they definitely need is equipment, and that is not something that we do. So I like to find the right partners so we can recommend good, reputable companies to all of our clients. And that's really why I wanted to invite Austin today to help us explore the menu options that you actually have in your place. So let's go ahead and get started. The first step you do, whether you're opening brand new or whether you're already in business, if you're already in business, you should really check your menu and revamp your menu at least once a year to see what else you can introduce to your target market and make sure that they're benefiting from what you offer. Now, if you're brand new, that's a whole other important factor that you need to include within your business plan as to how much you really want to set aside as far as an investment into equipment. So Austin, let's start there. Let's start with creating the menu and actually identifying the target market that people have. What do you see when people are opening up brand new? What do you actually see when they actually come to you? Are they coming to you in the beginning, or do you find sometimes they're a little bit late, it's an afterthought? Or what do you see exactly, and what advice would you give someone just starting out?
So great question. I think that the answer really is understanding your target audience. But before I unpack that, what I want to break down is the dynamic shift that we have experienced observing the aesthetic marketplace from an unbiased standpoint, meaning that we carry top tier technology from top manufacturers within the space. So we're able to really understand what's trending, what's been majorly commercialized, what is an actual profit center, a potential profit center, a silo of a business, in this realm. And previously when I started this business, we were doing a lot of international supply chain, as I had mentioned. When we started moving into the domestic sector, often we were rewarded with clients that knew what they were looking for, i.e. because they were looking for a backup or replacement device, or they had been to more of these shows and meetings and gotten that product education and knowledge and had started to go to the internet to find a resource for potentially a better price or discounted goods versus purchasing new from these equipment manufacturers specifically. In the past 3 years, what's happened is there has been a major insurgence on the med spa startup or the med spa entrepreneur, which, Dory, you've obviously done a fantastic job of giving those people a nice home to come to vet out and do their diligence in this space before they launch or before they make a large investment. And as we start talking about that investment and understanding your why, it is breaking down your target audience. I mean, that is essential to building your menu of services. It's not just rent a nice brick and mortar retail space, throw up a sign, do your TI, and throw some equipment in there and go to work and become a millionaire. That's not how this works. The competition is not sparse anymore. This isn't a service that you just book with a plastic or a derm. There are literally med spas going on every corner, like donut shops and cleaners. So as you move into this space, you want to understand how to diversify yourself, but you also understand who that demographic is. Are you in a particular per capita that affords a higher end menu of service with higher end billables, or are you in a more dense population that has many offerings, many options, many Groupons, and you need to be extremely competitive on core services like facials and hair removal? And so understanding your core target audience, understanding what those core treatments are the first thing that you need to do in defining that menu of service. Obviously, you're probably going to start by working in the face before you move into body contouring, unless you're focusing on a specific niche. And when you're talking in the face, there's a lot of options today, whether that's resurfacing, injectables, photofacials, hydrofacials, etc. And you can certainly build a business around the cornerstone of just facial treatments. But you want to also build a menu that can become expansive, and so that after you've established that patient base, or you've captivated that audience, you can stair step them into other services. So by that I mean maybe starting with something as simple as Botox injections, but with a plan to move into more aggressive body contouring, so that you can get a higher commitment level and revenue commitment from each individual patient base, and you can see a nice reoccurring revenue off of that patient. It's really kind of no different than a subscription service. So be thinking about those core services, be thinking about those gateway services and that transition, starting by understanding who your target is and who your competition is.
Yeah, sounds good. And that is one of the key things, and that's part of a business plan. If you're just starting now, that should be the initial thing that you do. So whoever's doing the business plan for you, whether it's us or somebody else, you really need to know, which lead me to the next question here, Austin. You really need to know how much revenue, how much of a commitment you're willing to make into the equipment. And that's why it needs to be part of your startup costs. It needs to be part of your business plan, so you have nice clarity on where you want to go with that. So a little bit about that. Now, I have my own opinions about how much they should start, depending on how deep their pockets are. But from your point of view, because you see people from a different point of view than we see them, what would you say? Let's say that let's classify them as A, B, and C. A is a bigger medical spa, B is the middle, and C is a smaller, maybe a little boutique. As far as making a commitment to an investment, financial investment, what are you seeing, and how much, or what do you recommend people invest based on whether they're A, B, or a C type of place?
So the great question, and I'm going to give you two scenarios. First scenario, I'm a medical sales rep, I'm a medical sales professional. If you've got $250,000, call me.
Yes.
That is the typical approach that you're going to receive from medical sales reps, but they're not just going to cold call you because you had an idea to start a med spa and you bought a website URL. Their lead gen comes from these outreach events, whether online or in person, that you're going to attend. And what I'm seeing is more people interested in the space, whether they're converting their practice from primary care, or they're a DO or a chiro, or they're a dentist and they're moving into a cash pay model into aesthetics. They're actually getting out and doing their homework online, and they're finding resources like Inspiration Management and Dory, who undoubtedly is probably the best in the space, to help coach you through this, because she has those business plans that she had mentioned, and in those business plans are templated or suggested machines that you can and should consider starting with. Now, leg two is after you've done some of that diligence, you've interfaced with somebody like Dory or at an event where these products are on display and these reps are there to give and offer knowledge. You go online and you start doing your shopping. and kind of understanding and defining that menu. But going back to the business plan, you have to have a budget, and you can definitely start out in this industry with as minimum as $50,000 to get going. I mean, if you're a single room esthetician and you're unable to go full tilt into launching a full blown med spa, you can rent a room inside of a sublet salon facility. You can purchase a facial steamer and get going.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to be constantly working? Are you going to see a lot of profit? Are you going to be able to grow quickly? Most likely not, unless you're smart in your marketing and you're grabbing that target audience. And so, you could get into this equipment for very inexpensive, but to be effective, I think the starting point is typically about $50,000. And there's a lot of different ways you can slice that. 50,000 can go toward one multimodality device that offers a few different services. $50,000 could also go to something like an imaging device to help the consultation, a facial device, and then you can move into phototherapy. So I think 50K is a really good starting point to budget when looking into the space or considering adding this as a bolt-on to your existing practice or business. But really, where things start to get interesting for your business and where you can really build a comprehensive menu of services is when $75,000 to $125,000 price point. And at $75,000 to $125,000, that opens the door to a lot of these OEMs that do offer some great post-sale support in the way of marketing, open house events. They're paying for a lot of their own direct-to-consumer branding, so they can help get foot traffic into the business for you. But also, again, if you're savvy and you're getting online and shopping, you can often find deals on maybe the not most popular OEM brands or certified pre-owned technology, and you can slice that 75 to 125 up to potentially 5 devices. And that's kind of like the med spa starter package that we kind of lead with when we're consulting anybody that comes to us from inspiration management or from outside the industry that's looking to enter. And we kind of break it down into a couple of different categories as far as what does the consultation process look like, the retention process look like, what is the facial menu of services, are you doing injections or not, are you doing a standard facial, are you doing a device-assisted facial, are you going to be getting into microneedling, are you going to be considering fractional microneedling, and the list goes on and on. Then we move into body and then combination therapy services. And so I think when you get to top tier, and if you have $250,000 to spend, you can legitimately call me. I'm not looking to just shoot you an invoice for a large 6-figure sum. I really want to walk you through the process and consult you on how far you can stretch those funds and how you can stair step your business into more efficacious technology that will ultimately serve your patient, your patient base or client base, properly and give you, a long-term plan to success. Too often I see new entry to the space and a 6-figure investment into technology, and a pandemic happens and they shut down for 2 months and there's no cash flow, or they're ineffective at marketing the technology and they're out of business in a year, and that asset is for sale, and you signed a note for that if you didn't put up the cash, and now you've got that on your credit report, you've got that on not just your business balance sheet, but you've got that debt you have to deal with, and now the asset isn't worth what you paid for it 6 months to a year ago because the innovation pipeline is so fast in this space. So you've got to be very careful about selecting that menu of service. You got to be careful about breaking out that budget for equipment, and it really does have those 3 varying ranges, entry, midpoint, and advanced. And if you're looking at advanced technology, that's where you want to spend the most time, I would say, as far as really fine-tuning what that menu of services look like and understanding the technology.
And that's probably one of the biggest problems people make is if they don't have the proper financial planning, then sometimes they overextend. And like you said, I was just reading an article, I was doing some research for my Dory talk show, and only 5% of all businesses are actually making about $1 million in revenue a year, right? Gross revenue. So if they go and they overinvest in certain things to open, and like you said, if they run out of money, actually that's one of the number one causes of businesses going out of business is running out of cash flow. So you have to really be careful, and when you're planning your menu, it really is very important for you to take your entire financial picture and the surplus of your business into consideration. And when you do that, you have options. And that's what I love about Synergy MedSales and Austin's company, is because you don't have to overextend because you have options, which leads me to my next question, Austin. Now, I know the answer, but I need it for our audience. Do you feel it's better to purchase brand new equipment, or is it okay to purchase pre-owned equipment? And what are the positives and minuses, maybe, if you could share that with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it depends on your individual circumstance, and what your financial plan is, and how much financial runway you actually have. Are you starting this endeavor with an SBA? Are you starting this endeavor with a financial backer? Did you exit another industry or another business, and you can cash flow this yourself? And once you kind of understand what that overall total all-in budget looks like, then you can start breaking down how nice of a space can you lease, how much money can you put into that tenant improvement, how much staff can you afford to onboard, and what does the equipment situation look like? And, to answer your question, I think that as it pertains to starting out and getting into the equipment, going back to the three categories, I mean, if you're spending 50 grand, no, there's not a lot of options for new devices. There's a lot of aftermarket, there's a lot of import device technology, sub 50K. If 50K is all that you can do, that's okay. You can be successful, and you can grow a business to a nice revenue. And there are definitely certified pre-owned options that you should highly, highly, highly consider. At that 75 to 125K price point, or investment point rather, that kind of opens the door for you to really want to take your time to review both options, certified pre-owned and new. And oftentimes I see a mix. We have certain manufacturers that we work closely with, or that we advocate for, that we're always going to tell you to contact and schedule a demo, learn more about, and see what their financing options look like, and blend that in with some of the certified pre-owned offerings that we have. If you're spending 250K, yeah, it's easy. You can go buy something off the shelf from the manufacturer. They're going to sell you on 3-year warranties and all kinds of marketing support, and this, that, and the other. And the doc down the street, has booked 400 grand in revenue the past 6 months, and you're going to do it too just by installing the device. But that's not always the case. So you want to be very careful when you're expensing more into the initial capital asset program that you're looking at, and consider some pre-owned. I mean, for the BTL M Sculpt right now, it's probably one of the more popular trending technologies for body contouring. What we're doing is we're taking a paddle that stimulates the muscle and creates hypertrophy, hypertrophy, and basically helps produce muscle, which will help burn fat. Okay, and a technology like that, new from the manufacturer, when it was released, is $175,000. Synergy MedSales, certified pre-owned, you're going to spend $75,000 to $90,000 on that asset. So how far could that additional $75,000 to $125,000 take your business if you're not expensing it just on that asset? Or how many other assets could you add and create a really nice combination therapy? So instead of just going after muscle stem, you don't spend 175 new, you spend 75 pre-owned, and then you look at adding something with heat for lipolysis, or something like Zeltiq to freeze the fat, and you've got a really nice combo protocol and 2 devices that you can sell to 2 different target audiences. Zeltiq or lipolysis is going to help cater to anybody that's got excess fat or subcutaneous around the midsection, whether your patient is 200 plus pounds or your patient is under 200 pounds. With muscle stem, there's little muscle stem's going to do for a 200 pound plus patient, unless they're literally ripped and they're exercising and focused on their diet, and they're just a bigger female or male. So those are things that you want to consider, and kind of, for me in business, one of the reasons I think I've been successful is I'm always trying to figure out how to stretch my budget. How do I stretch the cash that I have? And I mean the cash on hand, not the cash flow. As Dory mentioned just previously, you can't live off of your cash flow. There may be times or parts of the year, or you might notice year over year that maybe in October you're living just off of the cash flow, but you plan to see an insurgence in November, December, etc. And that's okay. But to consistently be relying on that cash flow is going to put you in hot water, because it's not the revenue that you generate at $750 a treatment for M-Sculpt, or $1,250 or $1,500 a treatment for M-Sculpt, and doing that 10 times in a month, that 15 grand, that isn't free cash. You've got a note on that device. You've got interest on that device. You have the overhead of the labor of whoever did the treatment or performed the treatment on that device. The marketing expense, an allocation has to be made for just your lease expense as well. So don't live off the cash flow. And for me, again, look at your actual hard cash and your assets, and understand how far you can stretch that, and understand when to offload an asset, recycle that cash, and put it as a reinvestment into the business, into new technology, or expansion, expanded labor, etc. Hopefully that answers your question, Dory.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, they have to do their homework. That's why it's so important for you, the audience, to talk with people, and don't just go to one company. It's so good that what I love about Austin's company is they service many different equipment options. So they're not just selling one type of equipment. So they're going to give you an honest opinion on what would be the best fit actually for you. And that makes a huge difference. And I have to tell you, like every single client that we have, whenever they tell me we're thinking about refreshing our menu, or when we make the recommendation, it's so important to know all the options that you have. So you have this much money to invest, then you get to explore and see what are my options, and then make a smart decision. Don't get sold by a laser rep, because there are always opportunities for you to explore what else is available and then make the choice. And I rather know about all the different equipments that are out there rather than just one main supplier, and that way I can make a smarter decisions for my business. So keep your options open, don't be in a hurry, and make sure that you're doing the right menu for you and your clients. So that makes a big difference. So I just retaped actually the copy system that we teach, and also I retaped the sacred system, which we teach people. You mentioned the consultation a little bit earlier. Well, one of my favorite analysis equipment actually is from Austin. It's called the Optic Slim. He mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I have to tell you, he mentioned two things that I want to touch on real quick before we go into our next question. One is recurring revenue model. You have got to keep those equipments busy, and the best way to keep those equipments busy that you invest thousands of dollars in is by having a recurring revenue model. So you've got to have that membership model in place. The other process that we teach that most people miss out on is the consultation process. You have got to customize programs for people, because when you invest in equipment and you have all these different pieces of equipment all over your place, if they're sitting there collecting dust, they're not helping your clients, they're not helping your team, you're not helping your business. So how do we occupy those pieces of equipment that you're going to buy? We do it by customizing programs for people. So you have them come in. You have the Optic Slim. What I love about the Optic Slim is that it's portable. You can take it from room to room, or you can take it to events. But when people see all the things that are wrong with their skin, then it opens up the door for you to make the proper recommendations. So if you don't purchase anything else, that is one very important piece of equipment for you to have in your consultation suite. So if you do at least that, and you start selling people different types of treatments, then you can start increasing your cash flow, you can start reinvesting into your business, and you can keep introducing new equipment to people over and over and over. And that's what helps you grow your company. So to me, that's probably, I was going to ask you, Austin, is what is the most popular equipment you actually sell? So is it the Optic Slim, or is it something else? I'm just curious.
We have the luxury of really getting our hands on most anything that's relevant in the space. And so that's a really loaded question. I mean, I've got clients that will call and go through a consult with us, and they may call in about a specific technology. And as the discussion unfolds, they end up asking, what's your opinion? What's best? And there's not really a best. From the standpoint that of the top tier original equipment manufacturers in the space, that are making these aesthetic devices or energy-based devices, facial devices, etc., it is a small pool of high competition. So an IPL device is widely available by 35, 40, 60 different manufacturers. The same as a 1064, or a key switch diag, or an erbium. Now, the way that these companies brand that technology, or the way that these companies go about creating combination therapies or blending wavelengths and modalities, that can be different. Oftentimes we find it all to be the same. There's a common misconception in the space, though we do have a vast and fast innovation pipeline. A lot of what is happening in our space is essentially technology repackaging. A 1064 nanometer neomiag doped wavelength is the same as it was 30 years ago when we started using it in aesthetics as it is today. The differences are how small the componentry's got and how good we as a society have gotten at design and plastic molding. So it's essentially a repackaged core competency or core efficacious treatment that is no different than it was 30 years ago. So that's why that question's very tough for us. I think in the industry, what we see is trends. And certain manufacturers ride high tides in category. So if we break it down by category, which is really the simplest way to think about it, from a category specific standpoint, hydrofacial is a category leader in a device assisted facial or some sort of a dermal infusion treatment or hydration treatment, if you will. When you move into hair removal technology, you're going to be looking at companies that manufacture diodes, which are safe for all skin types, that are direct contact cooled, least amount of pain, and those are significantly widely popularized through companies like Luminous, Alma, etc., and some of the other Israeli manufacturers kind of own that space, and that kind of tethers or tails into IPL, which is going to be your first kind of photofacial or resurfacing, regenerative style treatments. And again, I mean, you're looking at companies like, Cynosure, et cetera. Now, as we've seen a progression in the space, you're seeing companies latch onto this idea of a multi-approach or multimodality, and you've got companies like InMode, who's super hot right now. I mean, their stock price is rocking. They're on an all-time high. They're placing devices left and right throughout the country. They built practice models focused to just OR and surgical procedures. They've built models that are specific to non-invasive procedures, and any one of their devices can kind of be customized. You've certainly got your Ferraris of aesthetic devices like Cyton and Photona that make custom, very nice, expensive equipment for the most esteemed or practiced provider out there that wants to move into that type of technology. So I could go on for 2 hours about what's best, what's next, what's popular. Really, it comes down to, again, what is that target? What is the core menu of service or competency of your business? What is your budget? And how much timeline do you need to growth? And how much timeline do you need to ROI? And then we can kind of fine tune what those selections are. But to make it simple and to plug one of our brands, Optic Slim is an imaging device, as Dory has mentioned. That's the number one easiest investment that you can make. Whether you're just doing facials, you're just doing injectables, you're just doing body contouring, whatever it is, bolting on aesthetic imaging for before and after, whether it's our product or another, that's the number one thing that is going to help you in your business, and it's a low cost investment. You're going to spend somewhere between $5,000 and $25,000 on an imaging device. Now, I don't sell product at $25,000, and I believe that to be prohibitive for a before and after camera. Our devices are much less than that, but just as effective. And from that standpoint, for a minimum of a $5,000 investment, right, you can get into a technology that makes it a educational consultation that shows the underlying skin conditions that maybe the patient or client can't see naked to the human eye by using, ultraviolet and polarized light filtering to break down, pore counts and collagen and laxity and sensitivities and dark areas and UV pigmentation. And by having that photographic evidence versus you just prescribing treatment to your user base, they're able to see that. It is compelling. It gets their attention, and they want to learn more, and they want to correct the issue, i.e., you are going to make more sales. Whether it's retail back bar skincare product, it's an extra vial of injectables, it's a bolt-on facial treatment, whatever it may be. You're going to be able to kind of unlock omni-channel more sales to your customer base by showing them everything and every imperfection that could be addressed in the dermis. And you're only going to do that with before and after. So if you're not already using your smartphone or a tablet to take before and afters, please at least be doing that. I mean, that's just content for your Instagram feed. And that's proof of the results and the efficacy of your treatment regimen. I mean, that is your trophy to show other patients to book more services. So at least start there, but you should really be looking at something that has software accompanied with it, that has light filtering accompanied with it, so you can really break down and finite what we don't just see on camera, or we don't just see, again, looking out the naked eye. And so imaging is a safe bet, a good investment for your business, no matter if you're just starting out or you're 10 years in. Do it. I mean, the software is a lot easier to use now. Before, when it first came out, it was hard. It was like using Adobe Photoshop. You had to be an expert, and the products weren't getting used. But today, with iPhones and the development of mobile applications, the intuitiveness of tools like this is incredible. Anybody can pick this up and figure out how to use it in a half hour. And that half hour spent, that $5,000 spent, could result in an additional, $50,000 to $500,000 in revenue for you in a given year. Easy. So that would be my recommendation. And sorry to get long-winded there. If you want to talk tech, you're welcome to call me. But definitely make time. Grab yourself a cup of Joe or a nice iced drink, because we're gonna unpack it all.
That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see, which I was going to ask you this question here in just a minute. But one of the biggest mistakes I see is people missing out on that consultation process. We have mastermind members, Austin, that are averaging about $9,000 per consultation. So instead of doing the a la carte consultation, making maybe $300 to $500, imagine making thousands of dollars. And that's what an imaging platform or equipment can actually do for you. So we have a proven effective model with the combination of the two, the system that we offer with the Optic Slim. I can show you how you can turn that into literally thousands of dollars on average per client, per patient that you see, simply by opening up the door to what is it that they need, and then you offering them the solutions. So don't mistake not adding that on your menu. Make sure that you have that as part of your menu. And you should always put a value on it, by the way. So many people say, oh, I'm going to give you a free consultation. When you put a value on it, even if you want to give it away for free, you're going to be much better off and be able to generate more revenue from it. So keep that in mind. What do you see?
One point I wanted to make, Dory, sorry to interject, but as you go into developing yourself into this space and then defining yourself in this space, we talked about target audience. But how powerful and how great would it be as a business owner to really, move from targeting an audience to grooming your audience? Dory's example, going from a couple $100 per consult to $9,000 per consult, quality of patient, quality of client is quality of life, guys. If you can figure out how to pull more out of less people and increase the experience for those people, your reputation, your income, and your stress level is going to be kind of calibrated in all of the right places. And I think you can't miss the consultation. Lobby environment is very important, but step 2 is consultation. That's that first interaction outside of an online introduction or a lobby introduction. And that is where sales are made. That's where sales happen. And if you can establish those principles in the consult room and extend those into the treatment room, you have to always be selling, selling, selling. And when you get good at selling, then you can increase what you're billing for your services, because if you're good at something, you're not doing it for free, as Dory mentioned, and higher revenues, less patients, less headache, and more trips to the beach to hit an inspiration management conference.
Right. That's right. More freedom. Exactly. Gotta come to the beach, right?
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
what are some like final advice that you can give someone, whether they're just starting out or revamping a menu? What are some of the things that they should avoid, maybe a mistake or advice that you want to give?
Yeah, so I think it's important to look at what you have first. I think it's easy for business owners, entrepreneurs, dreamers to always look forward and want to acquire more or do new things. But I think you have to take a long, deep look at not yourself in the mirror, but at your business in the mirror, and understand, what have you already invested in? Have you seen a return in those investments? And is it time to let go? And letting go is not a bad business decision, or doesn't mean you're a bad business person. In fact, that means you're a great business person, because you have realized and rationalized that it is a unprofitable venture or silo of your business. And so what I mean by that is not necessarily just personnel or staff. Of course, if there's ill will or something going on with the staff, or the level of service is bad, or you're getting client complaints, yeah, that's poison to your business. You need to get that out of there. But I'm talking about your assets, the things that you own. If you've got a bad location, if you've got bad lobby furniture, if you've got equipment that is collecting dust on the wheels, I mean, that's the first place to make a cut. That machinery is probably where most of the expense on your balance sheet is, outside of your monthly lease, or if you own your building. So when you're looking at a balance sheet as a business owner, you got to look at those assets. And machinery is easy. It's on wheels, and it can be resold, whether it's to a colleague down the street through a service like Synergy provides, or one of the other many dealers out there. You can turn essentially that revenue generating asset into a infusion of cash into the business. You may have to swallow some debt. You might have to deal with a payoff, but it's certainly a lot better than having it sit there, continuing to market it, spending money on it not doing the same for you in return as far as producing money for you, and potentially costing you your business. When you get into dire straits, if one more domino chip falls. So I think that's probably my number one piece of advice is you got to it's not just target first initial menu of service transition and where I'm going next. It's you're constantly looking at that menu of services. You're constantly looking at your assets and whether or not they are working for you. And if they don't work for you, then get them out of there and go back to the basics.
Yeah, it's kind of like trading
go
a
back
car.
To how you started the business, or a core treatment before making a tenacious decision to expand, etc. So that's number one. As far as other advice, I think Dory had said something that resonated with me, which is talking to people. In this downtime of COVID, we've always had the shows, okay, which are events, and they're great, but they're usually touch and go, fast paced. And you often find yourself spending time with certain individuals and going back to those certain individuals versus working an entire room. And sometimes you can't even get across the entire room, right? So when we hit COVID and everybody was able to get digital and virtual, and people like Dory shifted their businesses even more digital and virtual, and that information was accessible, you had a lot more peer-to-peer conversations happening, and you had a lot of people in similar stance or posture in the industry kind of coming together and having conversations. And I think that is so important. You need to get out into your local market and talk to your competitors and learn about them. You need to get into the next market over, or back to any friendlies that you have in the space, whether you went to med school or esthetician school, etc., and find out how they're doing right now and what they're doing and what secrets of success that they have. And you most definitely have to interface with a coach or with somebody that is a consultant like Dory to keep pushing that envelope. and kind of giving you that report card and criticizing the business and forcing you to ask more questions, about your business so that you can gain some forward impact momentum. So I'd love to hit you with a third point, but I think let's spend some time to
That's
really
good.
kind of absorb and digest those points and think about them. And if you have a question on technology, call me. If you have a question on interfacing and having conversations with like-minded individuals, call Dory. She's got a great network. I know that most of her users actually have some of the best friendships that they've ever had by going to her events and being involved in her, entrepreneur circle, $1 million, circle, etc.
Yeah. And one thing you were touching on, Austin, is knowing where they are now. If you need help with that, it really should all start with an assessment, is figuring out what do you have now, looking at your financial picture. And that is one thing that we do for you, actually. So if you don't know exactly which direction to go right now, this would be a great thing for you to start with, is do a little assessment, see where things are, what's making you money, what's not you need to get rid of, like Austin said, and you need to launch something new, then that would be the opportunity to revamp your menu and see what else you can bring on. So, well, this has been so helpful, I think, for everybody. I am so excited that you took the time. I know we're all very busy. You took the time to actually be with us today, Austin. You want to give everybody your contact information, and that way if they need to get a hold of you, they know how?
Absolutely. And Dory, again, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to getting out to Florida to be with you soon. But in the meantime, you guys can reach me directly on my cell phone, 702-289-9811. Again, my phone number is 702-289-9811. I'm never too busy to take a call. There is no stupid question. Text me or shoot me a call. If I don't answer, leave me a voicemail. I will get back in touch with you. You can also check out my company online at www.synergymedsales.com. That's www.synergymedsales.com. So just like behind me here, SYNERGY, MedSales, MEDSALES.com. And we'd love to speak with you and consult you further. I do want to let you guys know that if you did tune in and you're doing your diligence and you're following Dory, her story, and what's going on in inspiration management, you found Meet the Experts, you're on this site. And for that, there is a lifetime 10% discount on any of my products, whether that's an imaging device or a certified pre-owned device. So that's a promotion that I wanted to extend to you guys because I appreciate you, being passionate about your business and at least taking the time to listen to people like me and to follow, great advocates for your business like Dory.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your generosity. We really appreciate it. And definitely they are one of the partners that we recommend all the time. So you're going to be in great hands when you give them a call and talk to one of his team members or to Austin. So I just want to remind everybody to follow us on social media and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you ring the notification bell so you can get notified every time we put out a new video. Again, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much, Austin. We appreciate your time. And everybody, stay healthy, stay safe, and until next time, stay inspired. Bye now.